In the big and bustling city of Lagos, there lived a young girl named Enna. When Enna was 10 years old, her mother died from a brief illness, leaving Enna in the care of her father. For months, Enna's father, Mr. Dike, tried his best to care for Enna and her younger siblings, but because he was still grieving the loss of his wife, he could not take good care of his children.
Why don't you marry a new wife so she can care for these little children for you? The way you have been treating them is not okay.
Mr. Dike's father said.
But Papa, it's not been up to a year since my wife died. What will people say if they hear I have married a new wife? And besides, I feel like I would be betraying my late wife by marrying so soon.
Mr. Dike said.
I understand your concerns, but you are not doing this for yourself. You are doing it for your children. I'm sure your late wife would have wanted the same thing.
Mr. Dike's father said.
I don't like the idea, but I will think about it,
Mr. Dike said. Already, Mr. Dike had noticed that he was growing apart from his children, and if he didn't do something about it, they would disconnect. After a few weeks of thinking, Enna's father decided to marry again for the sake of his children. Since he was not marrying for love, it wasn't hard for him to pick a wife for himself. In less than a month of making up his mind, Mr. Dike married a woman named Eber, who was in her mid-30s and had never been married. Unfortunately, 2 months after Eber moved into Mr. Dike's house, strange things began to happen. For example, Enna's younger siblings both fell ill at the same time, and one had to be hospitalized. Then, around the same time, Mr. Dike suddenly lost his good-paying job, and things became tough financially.
I don't understand why all of this is happening. Why did I have to lose my job now of all times?
Mr. Dike complained bitterly to his wife.
Babe, if you ask me, I think there is a strange presence in this house. I have been feeling it right from the first day I moved in here,
Eber said.
What do you mean? Do you think my wife's ghost is here and she's afflicting our children?
Mr. Dike asked in a confused tone.
No, this cannot be your wife. From everything you told me, your wife was a very good woman and would not harm her own children,
Eber said.
So, do you think there's something else in the house? How do we get it out so my children can be better and I can get a new job or my old job back?
Mr. Dike said.
Don't worry, I know what to do. I will invite my pastor to come and pray in the house. He's a very powerful man of God. Once he prays here, all the plans of the enemies will be exposed,
Eber said.
Yes, that's a good idea. Please, invite him to come over. I really need help,
Mr. Dike said. 2 days later, just like Eber had said, she invited her pastor to their house to pray for them.
Are you two the only ones at home?
The pastor asked before praying.
No, 2 of my daughters are in their rooms, but one of them is very sick and she cannot be here now,
Mr. Dike said.
Okay, please call your other daughter. I want to pray for the family, so it's very important she is here,
the pastor said. Immediately Mr. Dike heard that, he went to Enna's room and took her to the living room where the pastor was. A few minutes after Enna arrived, the pastor began praying, but he suddenly stopped and pointed at Enna.
Young girl, you are a witch,
the pastor said in an aggressive tone.
You are responsible for your siblings' sickness and your father's job loss,
he added.
Me?
Enna asked in a confused tone.
I am not a witch,
she added.
Yes, I said it. I knew that the energy in this house was polluted. So you could be so wicked to afflict your own father and siblings,
Eber said.
No, Mom. do a thing like that?
Enna said in a teary voice.
Shut up your dirty mouth! Who is your mother? Eh? How am I sure you are not responsible for your mother's death?
Eber barked.
Dad, please say something. I do not know what this man is talking about.
Enna said, but her father remained silent.
Pastor, is what you are saying true?
Mr. DK asked.
Does the Spirit of the Lord lie? God has revealed to me that this young girl is responsible for all your household problems.
The pastor said,
You should even be happy I came here on time, because her next victim was your wife, and she was about to strike her with barrenness.
He added,
Enna, how could you be so wicked? Eh? After everything I have done to give you a good life.
Mr. DK said,
No, Dad, I'm not a witch. This man is lying. Please believe me.
Enna begged her father.
Man of God, what do we do now? Eh? How can we help this little child?
Eber asked.
Little child? Oh, she is not a little child. She may look small in the physical realm, but in the spirit, she is a grandmaster. I'm afraid there is nothing you can do to help her.
The pastor said.
So, what do I do now?
Mr. DK asked.
You will have to send her out of your house. If you do not do that, she will continue to harm you and afflict your household.
The pastor said.
No, I cannot send her out. Is there no other way? She's my oldest child.
Mr. DK said.
Sir, I am a man of God. If there was a way to help your daughter, the Spirit of God would have told me.
The pastor said.
Also, once you do as I have instructed, everything you lost will be restored.
He added.
Thank you, Pastor. I will think about this.
Mr. DK said. Later that day, after the pastor left, Eber tried her best to convince Mr. DK to kick Enna out of the house.
Babe, this is for our own good. Do not let your emotions and love for her cloud your judgment. If everything the pastor said is true, then Enna might be more dangerous than we think.
Eber said.
But what kind of father kicks out his 11-year-old daughter? Eh? Where will she go to? How will she survive?
Mr. DK said.
Babe, I do not want to be barren, no. You know very well that I love all your children, especially Enna. But if she continues to live in this house, then I will have to leave.
Eber said. Immediately Eber said that, Mr. DK exhaled deeply and nodded.
Will you help me? I can't do this alone.
Mr. DK said.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Eber said as she stormed out of the room.
You witch! Your time in this house ends today!
Eber yelled and she began hitting Enna.
Leave this house today! Mama, you will leave this house today! No more of this rubbish from you! I am tired of condoning all of this! Who is your mama? Who is your mama? Eh? Who is your mother? I give you 5 minutes to pack your witchcraft belongings out of this room, or else, you will not like my actions,
she added.
Daddy! Please! Help me! I am not a witch! I'm innocent!
Enna cried and begged her father, but he ignored her pleas. When Eber saw that Enna was begging her father instead of packing her belongings, she aggressively grabbed Enna by her hair, pulled her and threw her out of the compound, and then locked the gate.
She's out of here for good,
Eber said.
By God's grace, everything will be back to normal,
she added. Sadly, the rest of that evening, Enna kept banging on the gate, calling her father.
Papa! Papa, please! Papa, open for me, please! Papa, I'm innocent! Please!
But no one answered her. Because Enna believed that her father would change his mind by the next morning, she slept by the gate with high hopes. Unfortunately, the following morning, Enna's father drove out in his car with Eber sitting in front, and he ignored Enna. To make things worse, he ordered the gateman not to open the gate for Enna, even if she cried blood. Seeing that her father would not take her back, Enna wandered on the streets until she left her neighborhood. About a week after Enna left, something shocking happened. Without applying for a job, Mr. DK got a call for an interview and got a job that paid double what his former job paid. In addition to that, he also got a new car, and his youngest son, who had been at the hospital for weeks, was cleared and discharged.
I can't believe that Enna was really behind all these things. Eh?
Mr. DK said to Eber.
Me too. Eh? As small as she is, one would think that was an innocent sweet child. But she is worse than the devil.
Eber said.
Anyway, let's be glad that God has restored all the things the cankerworm had eaten,
she added. Sadly, Mr. DK did not know that Enna, his daughter, was innocent of all the accusations, and Eber was the mastermind behind his job loss and his children's sickness. It happened that a few days after Eber moved in with Mr. DK, she saw that her husband was very fond of his oldest daughter, Enna, and he loved her so much. So to get rid of Enna, Eber devised a plan to remove Enna from their lives. Since Eber came from a fetish background, it wasn't so hard for her to do something evil. Without thinking twice, Eber went to her family's native doctor and got a charm to add to the younger children's food so they would fall sick. Then, she also used black magic to terminate her husband's job spiritually. Sadly, 2 days after she did that, Mr. DK lost his job. Eber did all these things to create the impression that something was wrong in the house. That way, she could invite a fake pastor to label Enna a witch. Unfortunately, Eber succeeded with her evil plan, and she got rid of Enna. Sadly, because Enna didn't know anyone, she wandered the street for days and begged strangers for money to survive.
Please help me.
Several times, Enna returned to her father's house to beg for mercy, but her father refused to listen.
I don't want to ever see you here again, you wicked witch!
Mr. DK yelled aggressively at Enna, and he shut the gate. When Enna saw how angry her father was and heard that he never wanted to see her again, she was very heartbroken. Already, Enna had gotten darker from roaming in the hot sun every day, and she had lost so much weight because she could not afford to eat one good square meal a day. That day, when Enna went to the house, Eber was not around, but when she returned home and heard that Enna had visited, she was pissed.
If this girl keeps coming here, she might get her father to change his mind, and I cannot let that happen. My plan is to eradicate those little rats next, and I cannot let Enna jeopardize my plan.
Eber soliloquized. With this, Eber devised another evil plan to kill Enna once and for all, so she could continue with her other plans.
Babe, would I be inconsiderate if I said we should let Enna come in and eat, even if it's just for one night? I saw her the other day and my heart broke. She was looking for food in a trash can, and I couldn't stand the sight.
Eber lied.
But you know what she did. If we let her in, she might do something worse.
Mr. DK said.
She doesn't have to eat here with us. We can just give her the food and she'll go.
Eber said.
Are you sure about this? You sound like you are the one letting your emotions cloud your judgment,
Mr. DK said.
No, I'm not. I'm just doing this out of pity. Even if it's just once, my conscience will let me rest.
Eber insisted.
All right, you can go ahead,
Mr. DK said. The following day, after Enna's siblings had gone to school and Mr. DK had gone to work, Eber prepared a nice meal for Enna. But that wasn't all. She added a charm to the food and commanded the charm to do as she said, and then she went searching for Enna and gave the food to her. Even though Enna didn't want to take the food from her stepmother, because she was hungry and desperate, she couldn't resist it. No one knew, but Eber had commanded the charm to kill Enna after 2 days, and she programmed Enna to walk in front of a moving vehicle so it would look natural. Sadly, 2 days after Enna ate Eber's food, she had very severe stomach pain that caused her to walk carelessly into the road, and she got hit by a speeding car. When the news of Enna's death reached Eber and Mr. DK, Eber pretended to be heartbroken, but deep down, she was glad. After Enna passed away, Eber believed that she would finally carry on with her plans to kill Enna's younger siblings so she could pave the way for her unborn children. But something else happened that turned Eber's peaceful life into a nightmare. Watch out for part 2. Did you enjoy this story? Tell us your favorite part in the comment section below. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Also, do not forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you.